Welcome to our podcast, Inspiring Living, with me, Mark Candelaria. I am an architect, blogger, traveler, chef, father, and husband. I am the founder and now partner of a fabulous 20-person architecture firm specializing in high-end residential architecture, designing amazing homes across the country. We have hosted tours over the last 20 years to Italy, Spain, and soon Napa. And in the course of all this, I have met a lot of interesting people who truly inspire me. We are excited to now be in our second season, and our podcast is about all the opportunities that are right there in front of us to inspire living. Yes, we will talk about architecture and design, but every week we will venture to all sorts of topics that will inspire you, teach you, and motivate you to inspire living every day. My guests will include a wide gamut of amazing people, from those in the design industry to clients to real estate professionals, chefs, artists, sports figures, and philanthropists, and people who just flat out get it. So sit back and enjoy, and let's have some fun exploring all the opportunities that are there just waiting for us. Please subscribe and get ready to be inspired every week. Okay, as my dad says, here we go. Welcome everyone to our podcast, Inspiring Living. I'm Mark Candelaria. Welcome to October and year 3 of our podcast. I can't believe we've been doing this for 3 years. I know I've been busy and I've been missing a few, but we'll get kind of back on pace here as we get into fall and winter. So cool fall weather is here. How good does it feel out there? I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. I think we got a whole extra month of cool weather this year because it usually doesn't start cooling off until Halloween is my rule of thumb. But here we are, and it's fantastic. Isabel and I are up early, and we're getting ready to head to High Point, North Carolina for the market, and I will be checking out one of our Candelaria design homes now being framed, and I will also get the chance to rendezvous with my brother James and his wife Beth, who flew out there from Durango yesterday to catch their son Trevor's game, which we will check out on Saturday. Will be about an hour outside of High Point. So I'm literally looking forward to that. Trevor is an amazing baseball player for Davidson, now in his senior year there, and we are looking forward to fall baseball and fall weather. I'd like to say a quick thank you for all of the birthday wishes. Absolutely amazing. And I had a wonderful birthday, everybody, so thank you. Also, thanks to all of you who sent me well wishes for my cataract surgery this past week. It's gone quite well, and I'm recovering and already seeing much better. I'm in day 8, and frankly, it's pretty amazing. So I'm really happy with the results so far. So in just a few hours, like I said, Isabel and I will head to High Point, North Carolina for the market. And we have a beautiful Candelaria design home under construction there with interiors by Anne-Marie Barton and gardens by Berghoff Design. I'm really excited to see this. They're going vertical, so stay tuned for some footage and shots from this project this coming week. And of course, all the fun from High Point Market. Couple of announcements. We have a spectacular Candelaria design home in the current issue of Phoenix Home and Garden magazine, and it will be on the magazine's Fall Home VIP tour set for November 13th. We will be cooking paella there, and I encourage you to get your tickets right away for this fabulous tour featuring several spectacular homes from across the valley. Our home has lovely interiors by Averill Interiors, and the home was built by the Allen Companies. The link to get your tickets is on our webpage right on the top banner, and we will also include it in today's story notes. We are hoping we can do our Spain and Italy tours in 2022. Direct message me for details. We do have a fantastic Oregon Pinot wine tour set for next May. It will be a short 5-day tour, but we have reserved the entire Black Walnut Inn right in the heart of the Oregon Pinot country just for our travelers. We have several amazing vineyard tours and tasting set up along with some fantastic meals, so you do not want to miss this trip. Again, direct message me for details, but hurry up and get on board as this one is filling up fast. I think I only have a couple spots left, so I'm not trying to dangle a carrot. I truly have an amazing group of people set to come on this trip, so don't wait. You will have a good time. Our podcast today is with Dorie Morales of Green Living Magazine. She is such a dynamic lady, and I love doing this podcast and getting to know her so much better. Her magazine, podcast, and website are all equally amazing. We visited a number of topics, including our Candelaria Design Habitat for Humanity 3D printed house, now nearly completed in Tempe, Arizona. This is the first permitted and soon-to-be inhabited 3D printed home in America. Green Living Magazine covers a wide array of topics, all centered around sustainability. Dorie has some great information to share, and you'll find her personal story definitely inspiring. Without further ado, here is Dorie Morales of Green Living Magazine. Our guest today is Dorie Morales, publisher and CEO of Green Living Magazine, a local eco-conscious lifestyle production that aims to educate, inspire, and empower readers to make eco-conscious eco-conscious choices for a healthier lifestyle and planet. Hi, Dorie. Welcome. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm so excited to be on your podcast, Mark. I love the design work that you do and the whole lifestyle and what you do with some of your projects to be really sustainable. So it's an honor to be here today.
Well, we're trying, and after I was on your podcast, or I should your live Instagram, just a couple days ago, which was a lot of fun, by the way. Thank you for inviting me to be on that. That was a real honor.
Oh, it was great to connect with you, and I thought that our audience was really engaged and asked a lot of great questions. So
yeah, your screen was going crazy. It was pretty fun to watch from my vantage point. I couldn't keep up with it, so that was great. So first off, thank you for the live Instagram, like I said last week, and we connected through the 3D printed house, which we designed for Habitat for Humanity, and that's what you were interviewing me about. I know you attended the media day last month. And I guess you have an article coming out about the home next month too. Is that correct?
That is correct. David Brown, our writer, actually joined me at the media day, and Vince Alfaro, which is one of our photographers, joined as well. So we have a great photography, great writing, and we're really excited to showcase the article in our August issue.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So when you were out there, it was about a month ago, I think now, you're pretty close. I mean, they weren't all the way to the top yet, were they? They were getting pretty close.
I want to say they were about 3/4 of the way to the top.
Okay, that's about what I was guessing, yeah. So I'm guessing about now they've got to be topped out. So I haven't heard anything to that effect, but I imagine they've got to be there by now. So that printer goes pretty fast. So
it's very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us about Green Living Magazine and what inspired you to start this publication.
It actually was a business opportunity. My former business partner, we had done an apartment magazine together in Tucson, and some people came to him with the idea of starting a magazine, a lifestyle magazine. And he said, "What are you, crazy? There's like 300 of them in the Valley." Yeah. And then they said, "Well, what about a green lifestyle magazine?" And so we did our due diligence and realized there was nothing like it. And so we began Green Living. And prior to me making my final decision, I actually went to Portland. And when I went to Portland, I was in the airport, and there was, how does the United States rank with its sustainability goals? And then I picked up the magazine, and on the cover of Southwest Airlines, it was like, how sustainable, what are some sustainability initiatives that are going on? And then of course, going to Portland and seeing how green Portland City was, I called my former business partner up and I said, "I'm in." Awesome. And so when we started, it was a business opportunity, but then I realized, like, when I grew up, my dad had a garden, and I was fortunate to go to France when I was in high school, and I lived in a farm. My girlfriend's up in Bordeaux drinking wine, having the time of her life. And I'm on a farm milking goats and cows in this little village called Espelette in the south of France in the Basque region. Wow. And I saw the birth of a baby cow, and it completely transitioned my life. And and I went back to see my family 30 years later, and they are working in agriculture, and everything they're doing is completely organic. And then they have a little store in the village, and they had a magazine called Le Plan Naturel. And so it was a Green Living French magazine. And I was like, how crazy that 30 years later, you guys are doing everything in agriculture to be completely biological and ecologically friendly. And I started a Green Living magazine. That was pretty amazing.
That is amazing. I love that. So how long has your magazine been going on now?
So September will be our 11 years.
11 years already. Wow, that's awesome. That's good. So over the course of that 11 years, I'm just going to ask you some point blank questions. I mean, do you think we're making progress collectively, or
do you think, we solve one thing and we create 5 other problems? I mean, where do you think the pendulum swings right now? Are we getting somewhere?
I think we're definitely getting somewhere, for sure. I think that, I guess I always like to look at things from a positive lens.
Mm-hmm.
And with COVID, I think there were a lot of people that awoke to what's going on in this world. And, there were some setbacks again with COVID, that we couldn't take our reusable bags into the store, and we couldn't take our to-go cups into stores. And there was a lot more waste going on, but then there was also a lot more education with people wanting to live a more conscious lifestyle, wanting to get out in their yard, wanting to be more sustainably minded in their home, looking at their probiotics, looking at their diets. So I think, there were a lot of positive things that happened after COVID with making people aware and consciousness. And Deepak Chopra, who is one of my favorite thought leaders, he has something that he's trying to unite the world and bring 1 billion people to wake up and be conscious and connect to a conscious community. So, and obviously that happened after COVID. So.
Yeah, and that was one of my later questions, was the whole effect of COVID. And I agree with you. I mean, looking back at it, I kind of think there were a lot of good things, more good things that came out of it than bad things, to be honest with you. But like you said, I always have the rose-colored lenses on too. So, but I think what it did is it really slowed people down to, take a chance to assess how we live, especially when you're forced to be at home and you see how much waste there is and how much, it's kind of mind-boggling. And I'm as guilty of it as anybody. Trust me. And my wife, Isabel's always on me about, don't throw that away, keep that. And my daughter, Tiffany, who you've met, she's even more so. She grew up in Portland. And so between the two of them, I mean, they've had a big impact on me. And when I brush my teeth, I turn the water off. I don't just let it run. There's so many little things that we just aren't conscious of that are wasteful, and I think if you lived up 200, 300 years ago and you had to go fetch the water versus just turn on a faucet, you'd think about it a lot differently. I think all the conveniences that we've brought to our society have in turn made us wasteful. That's what I see.
Definitely. And if you think back to like the Native Americans and how they live off the land and how mindful they are and spiritual, and if we just went to their ways, I think it would help us a lot too.
Yeah. I just think that the whole aspect of convenience that has been brought to our society has made us virtuously unconscious to the source of these resources, what it takes to get those resources to us. And so we don't have the value placed upon them that I think what you just mentioned, the Native Americans placed. I mean, you'd have to become spiritual if you had to go, 5 miles to go get a glass of water. I think you would think about it totally differently. And so that's one thing I'm really trying to just do, is just be more conscientious of what it takes to get anything or do anything. And it really bugs me when I fly. I mean, flying itself is kind of wasteful, to be honest with you. But when I was a kid, I remember my first airplane flight, and it just totally is in my brain still. And being up in the air, this is from Denver, we were flying to Germany. I was like 9 years old. And I remember just looking out of the plane window, and I could see forever. It was just like so clear, no smog. And I mean, just this last week when I flew from Phoenix to Portland to Seattle, I mean, it's like there's smoke everywhere. It's just so bad, and it makes me sad. I mean, it just really bugs me that we just have to get a grasp on it, I think, somehow, what we're doing to this planet.
Definitely.
And I don't know I think a lot of people go, okay, well, then you're a Democrat. Well, you're a Republican. Well, you know what? No, I'm an inhabitant of Earth, okay? I don't care what political party you are. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, you got to breathe the same air and drink the same water.
Definitely.
And we've got to get past
Definitely.
that. We got to get past that aspect. I think that's just slowing this whole thing down. So sorry to go off on a tangent. I know this is about you.
No. I actually have a couple things to say on that. Actually, when I was home during COVID and when I looked at the skies, it was amazing. And I'd been working with the air quality department around Earth Day to talk about, how much cleaner the skies were in Italy, and people actually saw marine life in the rivers and
Yep.
the oceans and different things that they hadn't seen in years, and birds. And
Yeah.
so that was really a wonderful benefit of COVID. And I've always said, I had ran an article or an ad in the magazine, and it's a little bit more right, and I've received terrible feedback from it. And I said, well, I want to connect, touch into the Republican side of things, because at the end of the day, we all need clean air, we all need clean water, and we need to preserve our wildlife and preserve our landscape and mountains and things like that. So it doesn't matter what political party.
And I'll go on record. I'm a Republican, so I just said it out there. So I'm sure people were listening and go, "Oh, he must be a Democrat." Well, I just proved that I'm a Republican and I can think that way too. So, it does. It's something that really bugs me that we just all get so labeled and stereotyped, and we got to get beyond that. I think, especially when it comes to the environment. So anyway, I'll put that out there that way. And so I really applaud what you're doing.
Well, there's an organization called Conserve America, if you're not familiar with it, but it is Republicans that are really passionate about air, water, forest, and things like that. And I've worked with them, and they're a great organization. So
yeah, that's good. I wasn't aware of that. So that's very interesting. So the publishing world has changed significantly since 2010. What ways have you effectively adapted your magazine and tactics to keep it successful?
Well, definitely we've gone a little bit more digital than we have been previously. And then, so we've been doing more IG lives and Facebook lives, and then some virtual events as well. And then we adapted by creating eco events. We created eco events about 4 or 5 years ago, and they're just a fabulous way to bring together the community, all walks of life, and everything from politicians to council people to CEOs of corporations, as well as moms and children and millennials and everyone and retired people all together, and everyone just connects and they learn something and they have advice that they can take on. Like I learned one little nugget, from that meeting. And we do everything from movies and to sustainable fashion events to grand openings of architecture firms.
Yeah, that's great. That's one thing that I really enjoy too, and I'm really trying to make a bigger point of it is, I think we all get stuck in our little bubbles and our little worlds and our own little group of friends and people that we associate with. And it's really fun and enlightening to get out and meet different groups of people, different cultures, different ethnic backgrounds, and do just like what you just said. I think you get all of a sudden you go, never thought about it from that point of perspective. All of a sudden you've got a much broader vision of the world and not just your little bubble that you're in. And you brought up a really good point too, with the air that, during COVID. I particularly remember a day I went and hiked up 32nd Street Trail and was sitting up there. It was right in the midst of when the shutdown had started. And I remember two things. First of all, what you said is how clear the air was. I was like, this is just absolutely spectacular. It was so clear. And the other thing I noticed is just how quiet it was. I was up there and usually you can hear the energy and the buzz of the city below you. And it was just like, it's pretty quiet, So to me, I took it as like, what? I'm probably never, ever going to see it like this ever again in my life, which made me sad, to think that luckily I had taken the time to go capture that one moment, because already I've gone and it's like, yep, it's back to how it was again, So I don't know. It's fascinating to see, what the potential is if we could start to figure some of these things out, and how much better, life itself could be for all of us. I think we're all in such a big hurry to get to who knows where we're trying to go. But in the meantime, we're missing out on how beautiful life can truly be if we just kind of slow down and, grow a garden and do some of the things that I think you're trying to convey.
Definitely. And I'm very, very passionate about bringing together different cultures and different people, because I think that we can heal the planet, that we're all one.
Yes.
And if we all connect together, then we can create change. And for example, tonight I'm going over to one of my dear friends who's Argentinian, and she always has a bunch of different Latin friends, and friends from all different countries are going there, and we're going to go watch the Brazil-Argentinian soccer game.
There you go.
She makes amazing food, and yeah, it's wonderful.
It's fun, right?
Yeah. And I actually, sometimes we would spin the globe when my kids were younger, and we would land on a country, and then every time we'd land on that country, and then I teach the kids about, what the flag looks like and what their population and different fun facts. And then I would cook a meal from that country, even if it was like Ethiopia or wherever.
Cool.
And so that was pretty fun.
Yeah, my mom used to do something similar to that. It wasn't probably exactly like that, but we used to do things like that too. So, I think part of it is, I think there's always this fear of not knowing. And so then you're reluctant to kind of, stick your toe out there and explore the world a little bit. And I think it's just like what you said. I think if we kind of just force ourselves out of the comfort zone, I think we'll be surprised at how many wonderful things there are just a couple blocks away, just getting out of our bubble a little bit. So I applaud you for that. So Dorie, tell me a little bit about you. Where did you grow up? Where are you from?
So I was born in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. I lived in New Jersey till I was 7, but then we moved to Scottsdale when I was 7, and then I went to U of A, and I met my husband down in Tucson, who is a Tucson native, and so I lived down in Tucson for 16 years, and then when I started the magazine, I moved back to Scottsdale. Okay. And then I was a foreign exchange student twice, once in high school and then in college as well, to France.
Okay. So is in France where your passion for environmental issues kind of blossomed, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I think living on that farm is really what changed my life, and realizing, they made their own milk, they made their own cheese, and just totally lived off the land, like sheep cheese and goat cheese. It was incredible.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
You'd have a cafe au lait and know that the milk had just came from the farm.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that when I go to Italy and Spain and France too. It's just, I'll go to some of these little restaurants in these little villages, and I'll ask them, what's on your menu today? I said, well, let me go look in the garden. It's like, oh, we got fresh lettuce, we got this. How about I make you? That sounds fantastic. It's like the best salad you ever had in your life. So I think it's, again, the convenience has forced us to take a lot of that stuff for granted. I think, it's like you can go to the grocery store, everything's there. It doesn't matter what season it is, Well,
I think even too, if you just thought about living more European, every day you would go to the store to get your fresh fruits and vegetables. You don't go for a week, you go on a daily basis, and you go to your little bakery and different things like that. So I like the term that you are using, I see here, called eco-conscious. Am I saying that right? I'm saying it right? Yes, eco-conscious. Yep.
Yeah, so now I get it after I've just been talking to you. It's kind of just, I became conscious of what eco-conscious means. I get it. I think it's just that it's more about an awareness and this connection to, how we're using things, where things come from, and just not take it for granted is kind of what I'm getting out of all this.
Definitely. And I started with something that's called simple solutions, where you can just make a simple solution to not use plastic bags anymore and take your grocery bags into the store, or choosing this over that, where sometimes I'll speak and I'll say, here's like Arm & Hammer deodorant. Right. And then here's a natural deodorant that's in plastic. So it's good that you're using natural products, but then here's something that's in glass, which is better, but it still has plastic, as opposed to an all-natural deodorant that's in cardboard. So it's like completely compostable. And I always try and tell people, just make a simple solution, a small solution, and then you can go on to bigger things. And I've pretty much done that for my whole house, like starting with each room in the house. So
That's awesome. Good. No, that's great. And like I said, my daughter and my wife, Isabel, are way more conscious than I am. I guess I am a true Republican in that sense, but they're waking me up to a new consciousness. And it's
that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, see, so
I can't wait to spend more time with Tiffany and Isabel.
you would love it. They're very good and they really care about the earth. And I always have cared about the earth too. I just think I've gotten so caught up in what our society teaches us, whether it's conscious or unconscious, to just consume and go and do this and move 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I think we just all have to get more connected to the world again. So that's what I'm getting from your message, and I love that.
And really look at overconsumption. And I was there was a girl, Hannah Bacon, that she read a book. I can't remember the name of it, but she ended up walking across the United States to raise awareness about climate action. And so we did an Instagram live with her, and she walked from, I think, Northern California to Boston. And it took her like 6 months. I
actually have a friend doing the same thing right now that I went to high school with. And she's doing the same thing. She's walking. She started in here near Seattle, and she's going all the way across to Maine or somewhere. And she's not doing it continuously, but she gets, when she's done with a segment, she goes back, goes home, and then she gets some more time. She flies back to that point and continues her walk. And I forget what her mission's about. I'll have to maybe connect you to, because I think you'd find her story pretty fascinating. So,
oh my gosh, I would love to connect with her.
Yeah,
so
she's amazing. She's the one that introduced me to Spain and got me going to Spain, got me traveling. So she's a phenomenal good friend of mine. So I'll put you two together because I think that'd be interesting. So now you're deeply rooted in Phoenix's green scene. And so share with us some of the organizations that you're currently involved with, Dorie.
Okay. I sit on the board of the United States Green Building Council, and I've been on that board for quite a number of years. I also work as an angel with Arizona Foundation for Women. I've been a past board member of the Green Chamber. I work really closely with Local First as well as Arizona Forward and Urban Land Institute. And then when the Phoenix Suns, when the Final Four was here, I worked on the Sustainability Planning Committee with the City of Phoenix, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, so we've got the Super Bowl coming up in a couple of years. I'm wondering if they've got any initiatives started on that.
I would imagine that they do.
Yeah.
Because there's actually a Green Sports Alliance where I think all 3 or 4 of all the team, I want to say one of them I don't think is a member, but the Diamondbacks, the Suns, and the Cardinals, I believe, are all a member of the Green Sports Alliance, which they go in and they look at the facility and the energy, all the sustainable aspects of it.
Interesting. So. Yeah. So I will connect you with a couple dots that I'm currently working with that you might find very fascinating with what you just said. I can't say their names on this podcast, but I'll make the connection for you. Okay.
That would be great.
So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see that. I do feel that, how do you think Phoenix is doing overall with sustainability, the Phoenix metro area? Are we doing would you give us, if you were to give us a grade, what would that grade be right now?
I would say, in terms of a grade, I would probably say a B going to an A. I know good. That Mira Gallego is working. I don't know if you know, but she has an environmental degree. Okay. So she's very passionate about climate change, and she's got a huge heat and resiliency plan. And the Chief Sustainability Officer, Mark Hartman from the City of Phoenix, is doing great things. They want the city to be carbon neutral. The airport I just read, is a level 3 in terms of sustainability, and there are only 7 other cities that are currently that have achieved that same level of sustainability initiatives. And that Mira Gallego is really passionate about the heat resiliency and what's happening to these neighborhoods. And I think they just got a $30 million grant from HUD to renovate one of the a community right east of downtown as well. And solar and electric cars. They just recently received a grant to have an electric car person that focuses on working with different companies and builders and organizations to get people to put in charging stations, as well as have their fleet switch over to electric cars. And then also the city of Flag just put in a new building code. So every new build that you do in Flagstaff has to have an electric car charging station. And I know that the city of Phoenix is looking to adopt that same code, as well as the city of Scottsdale.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's not that hard on the houses to accommodate that. And from my vantage point, it seems like the switch is really starting to accelerate. I mean, I'm really seeing more and more electric cars, and I just think within 5 years, I think it's going to be night and day difference from what we're experiencing right now. I just wonder how fast the gas stations are going to catch up to the fact that there aren't going to be that many people filling up their tanks with gasoline anymore.
Definitely. And there's they have a initiative to really get awareness in lower income areas about electric cars and different cultures as well. And then they're doing a lot with planting trees as well, because of the urban heat islands and people having heat, getting sick from too much heat and things like that. Last year we had more days over 100 than ever recorded.
Well, and it's just not just in Phoenix. I mean, I'm here in Seattle and it was 108, 109 here. I was in Oregon last week. It was 115 degrees in Portland. It was 115 degrees in Portland in June, which is like insane, you know?
We actually have one of our writers is in Portland, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Dorie, record heat in Portland. This is why we left Phoenix." We're getting 115 degree weather in Portland. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have another couple high school friends that are up there. I'm like, oh, they must be, they all left to get out of the heat.
Well, a lot of the houses up here, they don't have air conditioning. They're just not prepared the way, we designed our whole environment to conquer 113 degree heat, but they have it. They never have it. So why would you design for it? So it's pretty interesting. So one thing I keep noticing with these cities, especially Phoenix, and we've got a couple projects with Habitat right just southwest of downtown Phoenix that we're doing. There is so much vacant, abandoned land that looks abandoned, but maybe not abandoned, but there's just so much empty, low density, horrible housing around the inner part of the city. And meanwhile, we're just spreading out. It's like, we need to make a better effort to consolidate and use some of the land that's right down there, right off downtown, and give people an easy way to get to services and not have to hop on a bus or a train or an Uber or drive 40 minutes to get to work. I just think there's such an opportunity right there in the heart of the city to do something.
Definitely. I know one of my good friends, John Kitchell and Lorenzo Perez, they have venue projects, and they're working on a lot of urban infill projects and taking old buildings and restoring them into other buildings. And actually we featured this guy, I can't pronounce his last name really well, but it's John Kowalski, and he's doing neighborhood ventures where you can actually put in money into these old housing projects, and he goes in and modifies them and tries to be as eco-conscious as he can. And right now he's working on a hotel and turning it into an apartment building. So there are some really cool companies that are doing a lot of really cool things with urban infill and land development.
So with your publication, tell me some of the stories or some of the things you enjoy covering. What are some of your hot buttons right now? You did the 3D house, which we, again, from Habitat, really appreciate. What other cool things are you seeing happening out there?
Well, with the magazine, we rebranded at our 10-year anniversary. And so then we put common themes in the magazine, so someone can always expect the he said, she said, product reviews, cool and outrageous stuff for product reviews, but then we've got health and wellness, which is a huge topic, technology, and style and beauty, and savor for different recipes. And then we swap in and out gardening, and then, you know, what's happening with climate change, wildlife, and different things like that. But one topic that I know we're going to be covering in this next issue is water. Like Lake Mead is like, we're losing water really bad. And it's a topic that people aren't talking about.
Oh, I know. I've been hearing more and more about it. Yeah. People ask me all the time, well, what do you think is going to stop the market? Because the market's so, you know, so going so crazy, building. Just, you know, I said, I'll tell you what's going to stop the market. You're going to not have any water to turn on your faucet or take a shower within about a year. Like, what? What are you talking about? I said, have you been by Lake Mead or Lake Powell lately? I mean, they're almost empty. So yeah, it's scary. And I remember when I was a kid, Lake Powell had topped out. It reached the maximum amount of water after they built it, I forget, in the 40s or 50s. It's not that old of a lake, you know, and it topped out then, and ever since then it's been dropping. And so we're you know, it's gonna be a wake-up call that I think, unfortunately, from my vantage point, I think it's gonna be one of those things that no one wants to talk about it until it's too late. And we're gonna find out about it like out of the blue. All of a sudden it's like, oh, we got to shut your water off for a week, or, you know, you can't have water for 5 days.
Yeah, they're going to mandate it, so you can't wash your car anymore. There'll be certain times we're going to be just like California. And so I'm looking at doing a water awareness type of seminar to really bring it to the forefront of people's minds.
I think that's
and
good.
Then there's a big sustainable have you heard of the Novus structure that's going up in Tempe? It's one of the largest building projects, and it's going to be, everything's completely sustainable in the heart of Tempe. So that's kind of a fun project as well. And then I'm really passionate about fashion as well, and sustainable fashion. And I don't think people really think about it when we go back to consumerism, that globally, there's like 80 billion tons of clothes produced. And if we were to stop producing clothes today, we would have enough clothes to last us for 8 years. Yeah. And only like 20% of clothes are recycled in the world. And so I'm really passionate about going to consignment stores, doing clothing swaps. And then if I do buy new brands, they need to be organic, made in the US, and things like that. Because cotton is the dirtiest crop. And there's so much in farming and pesticides that happens from where we're growing cotton, things like that. And so I sleep on all organic cotton sheets, and I'm pretty, once you talk to me, like, I could give you like an organic, I sleep on an organic mattress, organic cotton sheets. And then I'm very mindful of waste and products and packaging. I use toothpaste tabs, because if you look, 1 billion tubes of toothpaste go into the waste every year. Wow. And so you can, and I use a bamboo toothbrush instead of a plastic toothbrush. I've gotten rid of all the plastic in my house, so everything is in stainless steel or glass. Oh. I grow my food agroponically in my backyard, because the agroponics it dates back to the Aztecs, and it uses less water than traditional gardening. Yeah. So you actually, the fish in there fertilize the fruits and vegetables and herbs that we have in our garden. So
yeah, so I think it's like what you're doing is great. I think it's just people just need to be made more aware. I mean, just in the last 30 seconds, minute that you said all those things, I was maybe aware of maybe 2% of what you just said, And so I know Tiffany and Isabel are, and they keep trying to make me aware. So it's just like some of us old guys just need to get pounded in the head 15 million times to get it figured out, But we'll get there. So it's just so fascinating to me. The other hot button that I'm always aware of, well, yes, I am aware of, is food, and the products and the pesticides and the GMOs and I see it with Isabel with her diet. She's a breast cancer survivor. She's got to be really conscientious of how she eats, and we all should be. When you look at the amount of chemicals and things and additives that are in our food, only because they got to mass produce it to feed the earth, but at the same time they're kind of killing us all with this stuff.
Definitely.
It's so frightening, when you really kind of look at what we're putting in our mouth. A lot of this stuff is it's so bad for you, And when you go to these farms in Italy, or these little villages, and you eat a tomato. I always use the example of a tomato when I take my travelers to Italy. I said, when you first get to Florence, find one of those little food carts with the fresh tomatoes, and just buy a tomato and take a bite out of it, and tell me what you experience. And that first day, about 5 people come to me and they'll go, "I did what you said." I said, "Well, what happened?" "That was the best tomato I've ever tasted in my life." I said, see the difference? And it's sad. It's sad that we've just mass produced everything to the point where it's just nothing but a chemical first and food second.
Definitely. And someone said to me recently the other day about packaged food. Well, why are you even eating packaged food? And I recently, after I met with Isabel, I found out that I had hyperthyroid. And so now I've had to completely change my diet and get off gluten. And I'm definitely eating a lot more plant-based. And I had been a pescatarian, but I'm giving up cheese and a whole bunch of things. And I'm transitioning to more like plant-based cheeses. And it's good that there are some different alternatives, but I try to eat as healthy and local. Someone asked me, like, if I wanted to make one conscious choice, what could I do? And I'm like, a couple of things. You can shop at a local farmer's market. You're supporting local farmers, you're supporting local artisans. All that money is staying in our community. And then I'm also really passionate about ditch your water bottle, because one water bottle lives on the planet for 1,000 years. So just, switch to a reusable bottle and,
It's not that hard.
No,
I know. And I always use that example too. I said a small ripple in the pond by a lot of people makes a big tsunami. It's like, if just a few of us do it, it makes such a huge impact in no time. And again, it's just eco-conscious, like you said. I think you just got to keep driving that point home, because people are just so conditioned to doing things in a fast, convenient, easy way, and not thinking about the consequences of it on the earth and the planet,
I mean, even too, if you want to talk money, like sustainably, my husband's a financial advisor, but I've switched a lot of my investments to conscious companies and sustainable companies that have, ESG stocks and impact investing stocks and different things like that. And it's like, you can vote with your dollars, and you can even, if you use credit cards, invest, get a credit card that gives money to the Nature Conservancy or something like that as well. And
no, I hear about that I hear about that on CNBC all the time, ecological funds and ecological companies. And so I think more and more people are voting with their pocketbook in those ways.
Yeah, and vote with your dollars too. Even think about it, when you go into a local restaurant and they give you styrofoam, you can go to the restaurant owner and say, "Hey, can you start using?" There's a company called Footprint here that makes all biodegradable to-go containers.
Yeah.
And every restaurant should be not using styrofoam. If you think about it, when your food and it melts and all those toxins and poisons leach into your food, or bring in your own container when you go into a restaurant.
Yeah.
So,
the paper ones,
bring in my own.
The little paper cardboard ones are great. I mean, they work just fine. I agree with you. I think I'm just becoming more and more aware of some of these things. So,
and waste is another big one too.
Yeah.
There's an organization called Terra Lever that actually you can send back any of your packages to them. So you could be a family of 4 and have enough waste that could fit into like a little jar, because they'll actually send you a box and you can send it back to them. And they even have like contact lens programs, and they they have some program where they can recycle cigarette butts. It's an amazing company. So if you've never checked out TerraCycle, I would highly recommend it.
Interesting. So from what you see on the radar, is there any like huge technological break? I keep thinking, there's going to be some kind of energy breakthrough. Like, they used to talk about fission and fusion and like these endless energy sources. And are there anything like that you kind of are hearing rumblings about, or some seems like the technology should come where, energy could be produced just endlessly. I know we got solar, we got wind, we got the sea, but are there things like that out there that you're hearing about?
I haven't heard of anything on those, in those areas. I mean, the electric cars, of course, and then like hydrogen cars and different things like that. There is actually a company that I think this is pretty innovative. Well, there's two companies that I think are pretty innovative that are in the Valley. One is, it's called Zev, and they are taking regular engines in fleet trucks and putting in electric engines into them. So they can do that with Sprinter trucks and Yukon trucks and things like that. And then there's another company called Dynamic Water, which can actually take the water in commercial buildings and recycle it and make it into clean water. And that's pretty innovative, because the more cities and states and people that do that, as opposed to cooling the building with chemicals and things like that.
Yeah, it's probably fascinating to understand all the ways, if we are going to be wasteful, how can we use that waste in a way that becomes recycled or repurposed or, turned into something, whether it's sewage or water or trash? How do we take this stuff? I mean, there's obviously a lot of it, and turn it into something that can be better than just ending up in the landfill or down the sewage drain. So I think there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that's going to be coming out. I think one of my friends, his daughter went over to Africa, and there was a woman working on human waste in reinventing it and recycling into some sort of product. And I think we had covered that story as well. So yeah, anytime you can, turn different products into different life cycles, I think it's interesting.
Right.
For sure.
So, okay, I'm going to wrap it up with this. So what are some fun things that you like to do, Dorie? Do you like to travel? Do you like to cook? What gets you going?
I love to cook, and I love to travel as well. And when I travel, I try to be sustainable and responsible in everything that I do, with connecting with the local people, bringing my zero waste travel kits with me. So, I don't have plastic bottles. I have little shampoo bars and soaps and metal containers and different things like that. But really finding out where the locals go and really having an experiential trip and travel destination. And then I haven't done it as much as I would like lately, but I do have a fine arts degree, so I need to get back to painting and drawing. But I love to dance as well. Dancing is probably one of my favorite things to do.
That's great.
Then I love to work out and Zumba, and working out is really important, hiking and that kind of things. How about you? What are your favorite things to do?
You're a busy gal, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't sit around a lot.
I can relate to you, trust me. No, I woke up at 3:30 this morning. I was like, okay, I'm awake, which I do. Well, I might as well get some work done. So I worked. I did a load of laundry in my new Airbnb. I was able to leave the hotel and bring all my stuff and get that done. Then they have a piano here in the house. I played the piano for about a half an hour and chilled out, got a little more work done, walked to the coffee shop, got a little coffee in all paper. So I was able to, be conservative there. And then here I am doing a podcast, and it's not even noon yet. So I feel like I lived a full day, and I've already got my 8 hours in, almost 9 hours. It's not even noon yet. So that's kind of how I roll.
So you and I are very similar creatures. I actually slept in until 5:30 because it was Saturday, but normally during the week I get up between 3:30 and 4:30 in the morning, depending on the day.
Yeah. Well, I just find I get so much done between, 4 in the morning and 8, 9 in the morning when no one's awake and asking me 15 million questions. I can get everything wrapped up and done,
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I always say it's interesting when you're working at 4 o'clock in the morning and then the person emails you right back and you're like, oh, you're like me.
No, I love that. Well, I've got so many friends over in Europe, so it's about 5 or 6 in the afternoon when I'm emailing and texting them. So I enjoy it. So you like to paint, you were just saying, and draw. So do I.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping. I started a painting of Isabel about 2.5 years ago. I still haven't had time to finish it, but I was just thinking about that this morning. It's like, God, I got to finish that painting because that's one of the things I love to do too. But I'm always painting and drawing houses, not pictures of Isabel. So I gotta get some time to do that once in a while too. So I understand. Just
that sounds amazing. No, yeah, I actually hung up some of my artwork so I would see it. So I would start painting, and I think I'm going to do so. I painted with my niece a week or so ago when I was up in Prescott, which was nice.
Good. So what do you like to paint?
I normally do a lot more abstract things, but I like landscapes and stills and things like that as well.
That's cool. What do you like to cook?
I like to cook, well, as I'm transitioning, I used to make a lot of fish and shrimp and seafood dishes, and then a lot of salads and roasted vegetables and different types of like tabbouleh and quinoa and lentils and different things like that. Yeah,
well, we'll have to get you over for some cooking with Isabel. You and her cook very similar, it sounds like. So we'll have to have you over for dinner some evening with you and your husband. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, we would love that. And then I've heard that you're a fantastic cook.
Well, I keep learning. I keep experimenting and trying. And so we got the Airbnb here. I'm hoping to get the Pikes Market and get some great fish and some great farmers supplies and do some cooking right here in our kitchen. So should be a lot. That
sounds wonderful.
So I've really enjoyed getting to know you. I'm all fired up now. It's like, oh, I want to have you guys over. This is going to be so fun. So this is great.
I would love that.
We have so much in common. So do you have any more plans for the summer? Any escapes? Where are you off to?
I'm going to go to Del Mar in July and hopefully Rocky Point, Mexico.
Good. That'll be fun. Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's been great meeting you some more. I feel like this is such a great week. I got to talk to you twice, and we just flipped it around on each other, which was great. So how do we find you? How do we find Green Living Magazine?
So our website is greenlivingmag.com, and then all of our social media handles are Green Living AZ on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and then it's Green Living Magazine on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So, and then they can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Dorie Morales, and on Facebook or Instagram as well.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job. You're very active on there, and again, your live feeds are a lot of fun. So very informative. I've learned a ton just in this hour of talking to you. So I can't wait to get my next issue and keep up the great work and keep building that eco-conscious environment out there, because I think there's a lot of people like me that need it. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for your time. And it's just been a pleasure getting to know you better.
You too. We look forward to some more time, okay?
Okay, sounds great.
All right,
thank you so much, Mark.
Nice job, Dorie. Green Living Magazine is amazing, and I thank you for featuring us on several occasions, including your live Instagrams. Okay, stay tuned as we will have some fun podcasts from the market in High Point, including my good friend and client, Jamie Lynn Fournier of The Collector's House. That podcast is set for this Sunday at 8 a.m. Arizona time and 11 a.m. on the East Coast, and we'll probably make it a live Instagram also, so stay tuned. We're going to have lots of fun. Thanks for the subscribes and reviews. Please take 5 minutes to give us a review. If you do, we will enter you in our drawing, where you will receive free round-trip airfare for our Candelaria Design Oregon Pinot Wine Tour. So go right now and give us a rating and a review, along with a subscribe, and then email or direct message me that you did so, and we will get your name in the hopper for this drawing. We do our best to inspire living in everything we do, from our podcast to our cooking classes to our tours, and of course with our Candelaria Design homes. Okay, have a great week, everyone. Stay safe, and let's all live our lives with love, compassion, grace, and positivity. See you next week. Because Inspiring Living is all about the people and the organizations that inspire us, we are excited to have Monogram Appliances as one of our sponsors. Anytime we do a new kitchen or a kitchen remodel, Monogram Appliances are what we recommend to our client. Their appliances are the definition of luxury, meticulously detailed using the finest materials and an ownership experience that is second to none. This is how Monogram is always thinking ahead and inspiring and elevating the kitchen experience. Because at Monogram, they don't just elevate one thing, they elevate everything. I want to say a big thank you to my good friends at Stockett Tile and Granite Company, where your project is our priority. I want to thank the Stockett team along with so many others who contributed to the success of our fabulous demonstration kitchen in our new Candelaria design office expansion. You will have to check out our online video cooking classes, and our kitchen is amazing. I've had the pleasure of working with the Stockett team for nearly 40 years on many spectacular projects, and trust me, they are the epitome of excellence when it comes to tile, marble, and granite work, bar none. Their skill and customer service is impeccable, and the bottom line is they are just good people. I have traveled with, dined with, and just had good times, both personally and professionally, with Dave Stockett and his lovely wife, Becky, and they are the best. When it comes to your next tile and stone project, make sure Stockett Tile and Granite is a part of your team. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our podcast. We encourage you to write a review, screenshot it, and share it with your friends. Please instant message it to me and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We thank you for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights to inspiring living next week.